She overheard her millionaire husband telling his mother, "I'll divorce her as her birthday surprise." The champagne flute slipped from Eleanor's fingers, shattering against the marble floor of her walk-in closet. Through the thin wall, her husband Marcus's voice carried clearly from his study, each word a dagger to her heart. "Don't worry, Mother. I'll serve her divorce papers on her birthday. She'll never see it coming." His mother's cultured laugh was like ice. "Finally, darling. 3 years of watching you waste away with that gold digger has been torture. When is her birthday again?" 2 weeks, October 15th. I've already had the lawyers prepare everything. She'll get the minimum the prenup allows, enough to disappear quietly. Eleanor pressed her hand to her mouth, stifling a sob. Gold digger. After everything she'd sacrificed, everything she'd given up for him. "And Vivian?" his mother asked. "She's been so patient, waiting for you to come to your senses." "I'll propose to Vivian at the charity gala next month. A proper match this time. Someone from our world who understands what it means to be a Blackstone." The room spun. Elena gripped the closet doorframe, her mind reeling. Vivienne Laurent, Marcus's childhood friend who'd never hidden her disdain for Elena. The woman who accidentally spilled wine on her at every event. The woman who was everything Elena wasn't, old money, connected, cold as winter. Before we dive deeper into Elena's story of betrayal and ultimate triumph, I want to know, where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below. And if you're already feeling Eleanor's pain, hit that subscribe button to see how she turns this devastating moment into her greatest victory. Eleanor stumbled to her bedroom, her legs barely supporting her. 3 years. 3 years of marriage, of loving Marcus with everything she had, of trying to fit into his world of charity galas and country clubs. 3 years of his mother's cutting remarks and his friend's polite dismissal. She'd endured it all because she loved him, or thought she did. The man she loved would never plan such a cruel betrayal. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Working late tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you." The words that used to make her heart flutter now made her sick. How many lies had he told? How long had he been planning this? Elena forced herself to breathe, to think. 2 weeks. She had 2 weeks before her 28th birthday, before Marcus expected to destroy her with divorce papers wrapped in birthday paper. 2 weeks to figure out what to do. She could confront him now, rage and cry and beg. But what would that accomplish? He'd already made his choice. His mother had won, Vivian had won. The girl from the wrong side of town who dared to love above her station had lost. Or had she? Eleanor stood slowly, catching her reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked elegant, refined. Nothing like the struggling artist Marcus had met at that gallery opening 3 years ago. She'd changed everything about herself for him. Her clothes, her hair, her dreams. She'd stopped painting, stopped creating, stopped being Elena Rodriguez and became Mrs. Marcus Blackstone instead. "No more," she whispered to her reflection. If Marcus wanted to divorce her on her birthday, fine. But she wouldn't go quietly. She wouldn't slink away with the minimum the prenup allowed. She'd spent 3 years learning his world, understanding how the wealthy played their games. Time to show them she'd been an excellent student. The next morning, Eleanor smiled at Marcus over breakfast as if her world hadn't shattered 12 hours ago. "You look beautiful today," he said, barely glancing up from his phone. "Thank you, darling. I was thinking of going shopping. Maybe get something special for my birthday." That got his attention. His eyes sharpened with what she now recognized as calculation, not interest. "Your birthday, right. Any special plans?" "Oh, you know me. Just a quiet dinner with my husband." She touched his hand, noting how he subtly pulled away. How had she never noticed that before? "Unless you have something planned. I might have a surprise or two," he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "I can't wait," Elena lied smoothly. After he left for work, Elena sat at her computer and began her research. 3 years of marriage had taught her many things, but most importantly, it had given her access. Access to information, to connections, to secrets the Blackstone family would prefer, stayed buried. Her first call was to James Chen, her friend from college who'd become a forensic accountant. "Elena, It's been too long. How's married life? Complicated, she said. James, I need a favor, a big one. Name it. I need you to look into some financial records quietly. There was a pause. Eleanor, is everything okay? It will be, she said firmly. Can you help? Send me what you have. Her next call was to her lawyer. Not the family lawyer Marcus insisted they use, but Diane Foster, a shark in designer suits who specialized in high-profile divorces. Mrs. Blackstone, Diane's assistant said, how may we help you? I need an appointment with Diane. Today, if possible. Tell her it's about the Blackstone prenup. Within an hour, Elena was sitting in Diane's office, laying out what she'd overheard. Diane listened without interrupting, her expression growing more predatory with each detail. The birthday divorce, classic power move, he wants to humiliate you. Can he do it? The prenup is ironclad on the surface, but prenups can be challenged under certain circumstances. Fraud, for instance, coercion, hidden assets. Diane leaned forward. Tell me, Elena, has your husband been faithful? Elena thought of Vivienne, of late nights at the office, of business trips that seemed to require his childhood friend's presence. I don't have proof. Yet, Diane corrected. You don't have proof yet. 2 weeks is plenty of time if you know where to look. And something tells me you've learned exactly where to look. That evening, Elena played the perfect wife at a charity dinner. She smiled at Marcus's jokes, charmed his business associates, and pretended not to notice when Vivian arrived, wearing a necklace she recognized, one Marcus had said was stolen from his office months ago. Elena, darling, Vivian air-kissed her cheeks. You look tired. Is everything all right? Never better, Elena replied sweetly. Though I couldn't help but admire your necklace. It's so unique. Where did you get it? Vivian's hand flew to her throat. Oh, this? It was a gift. From a friend. How lovely. Marcus had one just like it in his collection. Family heirloom, I believe. Such a coincidence. The color drained from Vivian's face. Marcus appeared at her elbow, his expression dark. Darling, let's get some air. But Elena was already moving, working the room like she'd been born to it. She spoke to the photographer, ensuring he'd captured Vivian's necklace. She chatted with the gossip columnist, mentioning how beautiful Vivian looked in what appeared to be a Blackstone family piece. She planted seeds that would bloom exactly when she needed them to. What are you doing? Marcus hissed when he cornered her by the champagne table. Networking, darling. Isn't that what you taught me? Make connections, gather information, always be 3 steps ahead. She smiled brilliantly. I've been such a good student. Something flickered in his eyes, uncertainty, perhaps even fear. Good. Let him wonder what she knew. The next few days were a delicate dance. Elena maintained her routine while quietly documenting everything. She photographed papers in Marcus's study, showing property transfers to offshore accounts. She recorded conversations where he discussed hiding assets with his lawyer. She gathered evidence of his affair with Vivian, hotel receipts, intimate texts he'd carelessly left on his tablet, photos from security cameras James's connections had accessed. But the real goldmine came from an unexpected source, Marcus's mother. Eleanor was having lunch at the country club, maintaining appearances, when she overheard familiar voices from the next booth. The little nobody actually thinks Marcus loves her, Mrs. Blackstone was saying. If she knew why he really married her. Why did he? Another woman asked. The Rodriguez Trust, of course. The girl had no idea she was the beneficiary. Some distant relative left her millions, but it was tied up in conditions. She had to be married by 25 to access it. Marcus found out through his connections at the bank. Eleanor's blood ran cold. The trust. Her great-aunt's trust that she'd been told was worth maybe $50,000. Marcus had known the real value and married her for it. Brilliant boy, my Marcus. Married her just in time, got access to the funds, and invested them in his company. She signed everything without reading, the fool. And now that the 3-year clause has passed and the money is safely his, he can finally be rid of her. Eleanor stood on shaking legs and walked calmly to the bathroom where she called Diane. I need to see my great-aunt's original trust documents, she said. I'll have them within the hour, Diane promised. The documents revealed the truth. The trust had been worth $12 million, not $50,000. Marcus had used her money to save his failing company, had built his empire on her inheritance, while letting her believe she was the gold digger. Elena sat in Diane's office, staring at the proof of her husband's betrayal. "He stole everything from me." "No," Diane corrected. "He tried to steal everything. But fraud voids prenups, Elena. And this is textbook fraud. Add in the hidden assets, the affair, and his plan to humiliate you. We're going to destroy him." "I don't want to destroy him," Elena said quietly. "I want justice, and I want it served on my birthday." Diane's smile was sharp. "Now you're thinking like a Blackstone. Tell me what you have in mind." The plan came together beautifully. Elena continued playing the oblivious wife while her team worked behind the scenes. James traced every penny of her trust fund, showing how Marcus had used it to build his business. Diane prepared legal documents that would freeze his assets the moment they were served. The photographer from the charity dinner was persuaded to share his photos early. 3 days before her birthday, Eleanor made her final moves. She visited Marcus's office during lunch, something she rarely did anymore. "Darling," she kissed his cheek, noting how he stiffened. "I wanted to confirm our birthday dinner plans. The restaurant called about our reservation." "Restaurant?" He looked blank. "The one where we had our first date. You said you'd made reservations for my birthday dinner. 8 o'clock?" "Right. Yes, 8 o'clock." He was clearly lying, probably planning to serve the divorce papers before then. "Perfect. Oh, and Marcus, I have a surprise for you too, something I've been working on for months." "A surprise?" His voice was wary. "You'll love it," she promised. "It's going to change everything." She left his office with a spring in her step, pausing only to smile at Vivian, who was waiting in the lobby with poorly concealed impatience. "Vivian, how lovely. Are you joining us for my birthday dinner? Marcus mentioned you might have news to celebrate soon." Vivian's eyes widened. "He told you." "Oh, Marcus tells me everything," Elena lied smoothly. "We have no secrets, do we, darling?" She called back to Marcus, who had appeared in his office doorway looking alarmed. "Elena, must run. See you both soon." She left them to their panic, humming softly. Let them wonder what she knew. Let them scramble to adjust their plans. It wouldn't matter. The night before her birthday, Elena couldn't sleep. She walked through the penthouse she'd called home for 3 years, touching objects that held memories now tainted by betrayal. The piano where Marcus had played for her on their anniversary. Had he been thinking of Vivian even then? The painting they'd bought together in Paris, paid for with her money, she now knew. Her phone rang at midnight. Her birthday had officially begun. "Happy birthday, mi amor." Her mother's voice was warm across the miles. "How does it feel to be 28? "Like I'm about to start a new life," Eleanor said truthfully. "Is Marcus treating you well? I worry about you in that cold world of his." "After today, you won't need to worry about that anymore." "Elena? What does that mean?" "It means I'm finally remembering who I am, Mama. Who I was before I tried to become someone else." After the call, Elena sat at the piano and played for the first time in months. Not the classical pieces Marcus preferred, but the passionate Spanish guitar songs her father had taught her, transcribed for piano, music that had fire and life and truth in it. "You're up early." Marcus's voice from the doorway made her stop. "And playing that." "It's my birthday," she said simply. "I wanted to play something that reminded me of home." He approached cautiously, probably wondering if she suspected anything. "Happy birthday, darling." "Is it?" She turned to face him. "Is it really a happy birthday, Marcus?" "Of course. Why would you ask that?" She stood, moving past him toward their bedroom. "No reason. I should get ready. Big day ahead." The day passed in a blur of preparations. Eleanor went to the salon, had her hair and makeup done. She chose her outfit carefully, not the designer dress Marcus would expect, but a vibrant red dress she'd hidden in the back of her closet, one that reminded her of who she used to be. At 6 o'clock, her phone buzzed. "Marcus, something's come up at the office. Meet me at the restaurant at 8. Predictable. He wanted her to arrive alone, Probably planned to have the divorce papers waiting at the table, a public humiliation to keep her from making a scene. "Of course, darling. See you there," she replied. But Elena didn't go to the restaurant at 8. Instead, she arrived at 7:30 with her own entourage. Diane, James, a photographer, and a surprise guest Marcus wouldn't expect. "Mrs. Rodriguez," Elena embraced her great-aunt's elderly lawyer. "Thank you for coming." "Wouldn't miss it," he said. "Lucia would be proud of what you're doing. She always said you had steel in your spine." They arranged themselves at a large table, documents spread before them, champagne chilling in a bucket. Eleanor sat at the head, finally feeling like herself again. At exactly 8 o'clock, Marcus arrived with his lawyer and predictably Vivienne. The shock on his face when he saw the assembled group was priceless. "Eleanor, what is this?" "My birthday surprise," she said calmly. "Please, sit. All of you." "We have a reservation?" "At table 12. I cancelled it. This is much better, don't you think? More intimate." Marcus sat slowly, his lawyer looking increasingly uncomfortable. Vivienne hovered behind him, clearly unsure of her role. "Now then," Elena said, lifting her champagne glass. "Before we begin the festivities, I thought we should clear the air. Marcus, darling, you had something you wanted to give me for my birthday." His face went pale. This isn't..." "No. How strange. I could have sworn I heard you telling your mother you had special papers to give me today. Divorce papers, wasn't it?" The silence was deafening. "Nothing to say? Well then, let me give you my gift first." Eleanor nodded to Diane, who slid a thick folder across the table. "Surprise." Marcus's lawyer opened the folder and went white. "Mr. Blackstone, we need to speak privately." "No need," Eleanor said cheerfully. "I'll summarize. Those are documents showing that Marcus defrauded me of my inheritance, used my $12 million trust fund to build his company while telling me it was worth $50,000. There's also evidence of asset hiding, adultery, and conspiracy to commit fraud." "You can't prove..." "Page 47, James interrupted. "Bank records showing the trust fund transfers. Page 62, emails between you and your lawyer discussing hiding assets. Page 85, hotel receipts for you and Ms. Laurent. Should I continue?" Marcus looked like he might be sick. "The prenup is void," Diane said smoothly. "Fraud voids all contracts, Mr. Blackstone. You should know that." "As for my great-aunt's trust," Mr. Rodriguez spoke up, "it had some interesting clauses you missed in your haste to steal it. The one about moral turpitude, for instance. Any spouse who commits fraud forfeits all claim to the funds." Eleanor stood, gathering her papers. "So happy birthday to me. I'll be taking back my $12 million plus interest plus damages. The penthouse is mine. Bought with my money, after all. The company shares purchased with my funds, also mine. Vivienne, you can have him. Though you might want to check your necklace, I believe the police are interested in discussing stolen property." Vivienne's hand flew to her throat. "Oh, and Marcus." Elena paused at the door. "Your mother was right about one thing. I am a nobody from nowhere. But this nobody just took everything you built with her money. Enjoy explaining that at the country club." She walked out with her head high, leaving chaos behind her. In the elevator, the tears finally came, not of sadness but of relief. 3 years of trying to be someone else were over. "You did beautifully," Diane said, squeezing her shoulder. "How do you feel?" "Free," Elena laughed through her tears. "I feel free." The next weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings. Marcus tried to fight, of course, but the evidence was overwhelming. The story hit the society pages with predictable scandal. Billionaire's fraud exposed by artist wife, and the birthday divorce that backfired. Eleanor moved back to her old neighborhood, renting a loft with huge windows and space to paint. She'd forgotten how much she loved the smell of oils and turpentine, the feel of a brush in her hand. Her first painting was a self-portrait, half of her face in shadow, dressed in designer clothes, the other half in light, wearing paint-stained jeans. She titled it Becoming. Her mother flew in from Miami, taking one look at her daughter's genuine smile and declaring it the best birthday present Eleanor could have given her. "I was so worried," her mother admitted over coffee in Elena's sun-filled kitchen. You seemed to disappear into his world." "I did disappear," Elena said. "I thought I had to become someone else to be loved. Turns out he never loved me at all. Just my money. His loss, mi amor. You're worth more than any trust fund." Elena's phone rang constantly. Reporters wanting interviews, lawyers with updates, friends she'd lost touch with reaching out. But the call that surprised her most came from an unexpected source. "Mrs. Blackstone?" The voice was uncertain. "This is Patricia Blackstone, Marcus's sister." Elena nearly dropped the phone. Patricia had been the only Blackstone to show her any kindness before being banished by their mother for marrying beneath her station. "Patricia, I'm surprised to hear from you. I wanted to say I'm proud of you. What you did took courage, and I wanted to warn you, Mother is planning something. She's furious about the scandal, about losing access to your money. Be careful." "Thank you for the warning. How are you? I heard you moved to Seattle." "Best decision I ever made. Left the family, married for love, opened a bakery. I'm happier than I ever was as a Blackstone." Patricia paused. "You know, I have a space next to my bakery. Perfect for an art gallery if you're interested." Elena smiled. "Tell me more." They talked for an hour, and by the end, Elena had a plan. Not just for a gallery, but for a new life entirely. Seattle, where no one knew her as Mrs. Marcus Blackstone. Where she could be Elena Rodriguez, artist and gallery owner. But first, she had to deal with Mrs. Blackstone. The confrontation came at a charity luncheon Elena attended specifically because she knew her former mother-in-law would be there. Elena wore the red dress again, paired with her grandmother's jewelry, pieces that actually meant something, unlike the cold diamonds Marcus had given her. "You have some nerve showing your face here," Mrs. Blackstone hissed when they met by the champagne table. "It's a charity event, not your living room," Elena replied calmly. "I have every right to be here." "You destroyed my son. Your son destroyed himself. I just refuse to be collateral damage." Elena selected a canapé, projecting calm while her heart raced. "Tell me, did you know he was planning to divorce me on my birthday, or was that his own special touch?" Mrs. Blackstone's silence was answer enough. "You did know. Of course you did. You probably helped plan it." Elena turned to face her fully. "You know what the saddest part is? I actually tried to earn your approval. I changed everything about myself to fit into your world. And for what? You never saw me as anything but the help who got above herself. You were never good enough for him." "You're right," Elena said, surprising them both. "I was never good enough for him. I was too good for him. I had integrity, loyalty, love, things your family trades for stock options and social status." "You little—" "I'd be very careful what you say next," Diane Foster materialized beside Elena. "Slander is actionable, and my client has already proven she's willing to fight back." Mrs. Blackstone retreated, but not before delivering a parting shot. "You'll never be accepted anywhere that matters. I'll make sure of it." Elena smiled. "Good thing I'm done trying to matter to people like you." The encounter, witnessed by half of high society, became the talk of the town. But Elena didn't care. She was already packing, already planning, already becoming herself again. The night before she left for Seattle, Elena had one last surprise. Marcus showed up at her loft, looking haggard and desperate. "Don't call security," he said quickly. "I just need 5 minutes." Against her better judgment, Elena let him in. He looked around the loft, taking in her paintings, the comfortable chaos of a working artist's space. "This is who you really are," he said quietly. "I never knew you at all, did I?" "No, you didn't. You knew the version of me trying to be what you wanted. But that was my choice, my mistake." "I did love you," he said suddenly. "In the beginning. Before I knew about the trust. I saw you at that gallery and thought you were the most vibrant person I'd ever met. Then I found out about the money and everything got twisted. I told myself I was being smart, strategic, but somewhere along the way I lost you. Lost myself too." Elena studied him, this man she'd loved and hated in equal measure. "What do you want, Marcus?" "To apologize, to tell you that you deserved better, to ask—" He hesitated. To ask if there's any chance you could forgive me. Not forget, not take me back, just forgive. Elena was quiet for a long moment. I'm working on forgiving you, not for your sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But forgiveness doesn't mean we can be in each other's lives. He nodded, defeated. I understand. For what it's worth, I hope you find someone who sees you, really sees you. I already have, Elena said. Me. I see me, and that's enough. After he left, Elena felt the last chain break. She was truly free now, not just legally but emotionally. Seattle welcomed her with rain and possibility. Patricia's bakery smelled like heaven, and the empty space next door seemed to pulse with potential. Within a month, the Elena Rodriguez Gallery was born, a space dedicated to showcasing emerging artists, especially women and minorities who, like her, might feel they didn't belong in traditional galleries. Her first exhibition was her own work, a series called Unbecoming, that chronicled her transformation in reverse, from society wife back to herself. The opening night was packed, the reviews glowing. But the moment that mattered most came when a young Latina artist approached her, tears in her eyes. Your story, your paintings, they made me realize I've been doing the same thing, trying to be someone else to be accepted. Thank you for showing me it's okay to be myself. Elena hugged her, remembering her own journey. It's more than okay, it's essential. 6 months later, Elena stood in her gallery, arranging pieces for a new exhibition. She wore paint-stained jeans and a comfortable sweater, her hair in a messy bun. No more designer clothes, no more trying to fit into boxes that were never meant for her. Excuse me, a voice said behind her. I'm looking for the owner. Elena turned to find a man with kind eyes and calloused hands, an artist's hands. You found her. I'm David Chen. I have a piece I'd like to submit for your Emerging Artists Showcase. They talked for hours about art, about vision, about the courage it takes to show your true self to the world. When he finally left, Elena realized she'd forgotten to eat lunch, so engrossed had she been in the conversation. Patricia appeared with a sandwich and a knowing smile. He's cute. He's an artist, Elena said, as if that explained everything. So are you. Might be nice to be with someone who understands that. Elena considered this. Maybe, but I'm not looking for anyone to complete me. I'm already whole. Good, Patricia said. That's when the best people show up. When you're not looking, when you're complete on your own. A year after her birthday divorce that wasn't, Elena received an unexpected package. Inside was her wedding portrait, the one that had hung in the Blackstone penthouse, but someone had painted over it, transforming the subdued bride into a phoenix rising from flames, vibrant and powerful. The note read, "Saw this at an estate sale, thought it needed editing. Happy birthday, an admirer of your work." Elena laughed, hanging the transformed portrait in her gallery bathroom. It was perfect, a reminder of who she'd been and who she'd become. That night, she hosted a birthday party in the gallery, not the stuffy affairs Marcus had preferred, but a real celebration with music and laughter and art. David was there, along with Patricia and her family, the artists Elena had showcased, and the new friends who knew her only as Elena. "Speech!" someone called out as midnight approached. Elena climbed onto a chair, champagne in hand. "A year ago, I overheard my ex-husband planning to divorce me on my birthday. He thought it would destroy me. Instead, it freed me. So here's to the worst things that become the best things, to the people who show us who we don't want to be, and to the courage to become who we really are." The room erupted in cheers. As Elena climbed down, David steadied her with a hand on her elbow. "That was beautiful," he said. "You're beautiful. Not just physically, but your spirit, your courage." "Careful," Elena warned with a smile. "I'm not good at being what people expect." "Good," David said. "I'm not good at expecting people to be anything but themselves." They were still talking when the sun came up, painting Seattle in shades of gold and possibility. Elena thought about the woman she'd been 2 years ago, crying in a closet, believing her world was ending. If only she'd known it was beginning. Her phone buzzed with a text from Diane. "Thought you should know. Marcus's company just filed for bankruptcy. Turns out he's not much of a businessman without your money. Karma's a beautiful thing." Elena deleted the message without responding. Marcus was her past. The gallery, her art, the life she'd built on her own terms, that was her present and future. "Everything okay?" David asked, noticing her expression. "Everything's perfect," Elena said, meaning it. "Want to help me hang the new exhibition?" They worked side by side as the city woke up around them. Elena caught their reflection in a gallery window. Two artists, paint-stained and laughing, creating something beautiful together. No pretense, no games, no trying to be anything other than themselves. Her phone rang. Her mother, calling for their weekly check-in. "How's my birthday girl?" her mother asked. "Living her best life," Elena replied, watching David carefully adjust a painting's position. Finally living her best life. And she was. The girl who'd been sold for her trust fund had bought her freedom with courage. The woman who'd lost herself trying to be someone else had found her way home to who she really was. The artist who'd put down her brushes for love had picked them up again for self-love. Marcus had planned to give her divorce papers for her birthday. Instead, he'd given her the gift of truth, of freedom, of discovering her own strength. It wasn't the gift he'd intended, but it was the one she'd needed. As Elena looked around her gallery, at the life she'd built from the ashes of her marriage, she realized the most important truth of all. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best beginnings. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself. And sometimes, a birthday surprise that's meant to destroy you becomes the moment you start truly living. The Phoenix portrait caught the morning light, its transformed bride rising from painted flames with wings spread wide. Elena smiled at it, then turned back to her new life, ready for whatever came next. She'd been forced to become Mrs. Marcus Blackstone, but she'd chosen to become Elena Rodriguez again. And that choice, that reclaiming of herself, was the greatest gift of all. 2 years later, Elena stood before a packed auditorium, delivering a keynote speech at the Women's Empowerment Summit. Her story had spread beyond Seattle, inspiring women across the country who'd lost themselves in relationships, in others' expectations, in lives that weren't truly theirs. "We're taught that love means sacrifice," she said, her voice strong and clear. And it does. But we're not taught to ask what we're sacrificing and why. Are we sacrificing our comfort for growth? Or are we sacrificing our identity for acceptance? There's a difference, and that difference can cost us everything. In the audience, she spotted familiar faces. Patricia, beaming with pride. David, now her partner in both art and life, who understood that loving someone meant encouraging them to be more themselves, not less. Even Diane Foster had come, nodding approvingly at Elena's transformation from client to advocate. 3 years ago, I overheard my husband planning to divorce me on my birthday. He called me a gold digger, not knowing he'd stolen my entire inheritance. He thought serving me papers on my birthday would be the ultimate power move, the final humiliation. Elena paused, letting the words sink in. He was half right. It was the ultimate power move, just not his, because that betrayal forced me to stop being who I thought I should be and remember who I actually was. After the speech, a line of women waited to speak with her, each with their own story of loss and recovery. Elena listened to each one, seeing her former self in their eyes, offering hope that they too could rise from their ashes. Later that evening, in her expanded gallery that now occupied 3 storefronts, Elena unveiled her latest series, The Birthday Gift. 28 paintings, one for each year of her life, showing the evolution from Elena to Mrs. Blackstone and back to Elena again. The final painting showed a woman standing in front of a mirror, but instead of one reflection, there were dozens, all the women she could have been, all the women she chose not to be, and in the center, the woman she chose to become. "It's powerful," David said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "You're powerful." "I wasn't always," Elena reminded him. "There was a time I thought power meant fitting in, being accepted, being chosen by someone like Marcus. And now? Now I know power is choosing yourself, even when, especially when, the world tells you you're not enough as you are. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number, but the words made her smile. Ms. Rodriguez, my name is Sarah Mitchell. I just left my husband after finding out about his affairs and financial abuse. Your story gave me courage. I'm an artist too, and I was wondering if you have any advice for starting over. Elena typed back, first piece of advice, you're not starting over. You're starting fresh. There's a difference. Everything you've survived has made you stronger. Use it. Second, make art from your pain. It's the best revenge and the best healing. Third, you're welcome to visit the gallery anytime. We have a support group for artists rebuilding their lives. You're not alone. Another phoenix rising? David asked, reading over her shoulder. They're everywhere, Eleanor said. Once you start looking, you see them. Women reclaiming themselves, choosing themselves, saving themselves. We just don't always recognize them because they're taught to rise quietly. Well, you certainly didn't rise quietly, David teased. The birthday party ambush is still legendary in certain circles. Eleanor laughed. Good. Let it be a warning to anyone who thinks they can destroy someone on their birthday. We might just destroy them right back, with truth, evidence, and really good lawyers. As the gallery filled with visitors for the exhibition opening, Elena moved through the crowd, no longer the uncertain girl who'd tried to disappear into someone else's life. She was fully herself now, artist, advocate, survivor, thriver. Near the end of the evening, an elderly woman approached her. Something about her seemed familiar, though Elena couldn't place her. You don't know me, the woman said, but I knew your great-aunt Lucia. I was her best friend. Elena's breath caught. You knew Aunt Lucia? I did, and I want you to know something. The trust she left you, it wasn't random. She saw something in you when you were young, a spark, a strength. She used to say, that one, she's going to change the world. She just needs to believe it. Tears pricked Elena's eyes. I wish I could thank her. You have, the woman said, gesturing around the gallery. By becoming who she always knew you could be, by helping other women find their strength. This is exactly what Lucia hoped for when she set up that trust. Not just financial security, but the chance for you to discover your own power. The woman pressed a worn envelope into Elena's hands. She wrote this for you, to be delivered when you were ready. I think that time is now. After the woman left, Elena found a quiet corner and opened the letter with trembling hands. Her great-aunt's handwriting, still elegant despite age, filled the page. My dearest Elena, if you're reading this, then you've discovered who you truly are. I watched you as a child, saw how you tried to make yourself smaller, to fit into spaces that weren't meant for you. I knew that tendency would follow you into adulthood, knew someone would try to use it against you. The money was never just money, mi amor. It was a test, not of you, but of those around you. Would they see your worth beyond the dollars? Would they honor the artist, the dreamer, the fighter I saw in you? I suspect, if you're reading this now, that someone failed that test spectacularly. I'm sorry for the pain that must have caused. But I'm not sorry for the lesson because I know you, Elena. You don't just survive, you transform. You take the ashes and make them into art. The trust was structured the way it was for a reason. I wanted you to have the chance to see who people really were when money was involved. More importantly, I wanted you to have the resources to rebuild when you finally chose yourself. Because that's what the money was always for, not to make you acceptable to others, but to give you the freedom to be unacceptably, unapologetically yourself. Paint the world in your colors, mi amor. Show other women that they don't have to shrink to be loved. Teach them what I hope you've learned, that the only person whose approval you need is your own. All my love, Tia Lucia. Elena was openly crying now, clutching the letter to her chest. David found her there, wordlessly pulling her into his arms as she processed this final gift from the woman who'd seen her potential long before she'd seen it herself. She knew, Elena whispered. She knew someone would try to use me for the money, She set it up, so I'd have to learn to fight back. Wise woman, David said, though I'm sorry you had to learn that way. I'm not, Elena said, surprising herself with the truth of it. Not anymore. Every betrayal, every moment of pain, every time I chose to be someone else, it all led me here. And here is exactly where I'm supposed to be. The exhibition was a massive success, with several pieces selling to major collectors. But more importantly, it sparked a movement. Women from across the country began sharing their own stories of birthday betrayals, of discoveries that changed everything, of rising from the ashes of their former lives. Eleanor's gallery became more than just an art space. It evolved into a sanctuary for women rebuilding their lives, offering workshops on financial literacy, legal rights, and self-advocacy alongside art classes. The Phoenix program, as they called it, helped dozens of women transition from survival to thriving. 1 year later, on her 31st birthday, Elena received an unexpected call from Diane Foster. "I have news you'll want to hear," Diane said. "Marcus Blackstone was arrested this morning. Turns out you weren't his only victim. 3 other women have come forward with similar stories. Marriage for hidden assets, planned humiliation, divorces, the whole playbook." Eleanor felt a complex mix of emotions: vindication, sadness for the other women, and surprisingly a touch of pity for Marcus. What will happen to him? Federal fraud charges. He's looking at serious prison time. And Elena? One of the women credits your story with giving her the courage to come forward. You saved her from years more abuse. After the call, Eleanor stood in her gallery surrounded by art that told stories of transformation. The Phoenix portrait still hung in the bathroom, a daily reminder of where she'd been. But now it was joined by dozens of other Phoenixes, women who'd taken their worst moments and transformed them into their greatest strengths. Patricia burst through the door, carrying a birthday cake that smelled like heaven. "Happy birthday, though I still can't believe you want to celebrate it after, you know." "That's exactly why I celebrate it," Elena said. "October 15th isn't the day Marcus tried to destroy me anymore. It's the day I chose to save myself. It's my Independence Day." As friends gathered for the celebration, real friends who knew and loved the authentic Elena, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. The naive girl who'd changed everything about herself for love. The broken woman who'd overheard her husband's betrayal. The phoenix who'd risen from those ashes to build something beautiful and lasting. "Toast," David called out, raising his glass. "To Elena, who turned the worst birthday surprise into the best life possible." "To all the phoenixes," Elena countered, rising and risen, transforming pain into power, betrayal into breakthrough. "May we all find the courage to choose ourselves." As glasses clinked and laughter filled the space, Elena noticed a young woman hovering at the gallery entrance, looking uncertain. She recognized the look, the same one she'd worn 3 years ago when her world had shattered. "Come in," Elena called to her. "You're welcome here." The woman entered hesitantly. I heard about your story. My husband, he's planning something similar. I overheard him last week. I don't know what to do." Elena set down her champagne and approached the woman, seeing herself reflected in those frightened eyes. "First you breathe, then you plan, and then you rise. Let me introduce you to some people who can help." As she led the woman to Diane and the other Phoenix program volunteers, Eleanor felt the circle complete. She'd been saved by her own strength and the wisdom of women who'd come before. Now she could be that wisdom for others. The birthday that was meant to be her ending had become her beginning. The divorce papers that never came had been replaced by incorporation papers for the Phoenix Foundation. The man who'd tried to diminish her had only revealed her true magnitude. And somewhere, Elena was certain, Tia Lucia was smiling, knowing her investment had paid the greatest dividend of all. A woman who knew her worth and helped others discover theirs. The party continued late into the night, but Elena stepped outside for a moment of quiet reflection. Seattle's skyline glittered before her, full of lights and lives and stories. How many women out there were living as someone else, waiting for permission to be themselves? How many were one overheard conversation away from their own transformation? "You okay?" David joined her, wrapping his jacket around her shoulders. "More than okay," Elena said. "I was just thinking about butterfly effects. How one overheard conversation led to all of this. She gestured toward the gallery, where laughter and light spilled onto the street. Marcus thought he was ending my story. He had no idea he was beginning it. The best revenge, David said, is a life well lived. No, Elena corrected gently. The best revenge is a life authentically lived. There's a difference. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city pulse with life. Inside the gallery, another woman was sharing her story, finding her voice, discovering her power. The Phoenix program was working, one transformation at a time. Elena's phone buzzed with a message from a number she recognized, one of the women from the support group who'd left her abusive marriage 6 months ago. Just sold my first painting. Thank you for showing me I could be an artist again. Another success story? David asked. Another beginning, Elena corrected. That's all any of us really get, new beginnings. The question is whether we're brave enough to take them. As they returned to the party, Elena caught sight of herself in the gallery window. The woman reflected there bore little resemblance to the perfectly coiffed Mrs. Blackstone of 3 years ago. This woman had paint under her nails and joy in her eyes. This woman knew who she was and wasn't afraid to be her. Happy birthday to me, she whispered to her reflection, then turned back to her real life, messy, authentic, and entirely her own. The girl who'd been betrayed on her birthday had become a woman who celebrated it as her personal Independence Day. The wife who'd lost everything had gained something worth more than any trust fund, herself. And in galleries and support groups, in courtrooms and coffee shops, in quiet moments of courage across the country, other phoenixes were rising, inspired by the woman who'd turned the worst birthday surprise into the best possible life. Marcus Blackstone had planned to serve divorce papers on Elena's birthday, thinking it would be the ultimate power move. He'd been right about one thing. It was powerful, just not in the way he'd intended. Because sometimes the end of who you thought you had to be is the beginning of who you were always meant to become. And that transformation? That's the greatest gift anyone can give themselves. As the clock struck midnight, ending another October 15th, Elena Rodriguez stood in her gallery, surrounded by art and friends and possibility, living proof that the worst surprises can become the best beginnings. And somewhere in the city, another woman was overhearing something that would change her life, not knowing that her ending was actually her beginning, that her ashes were about to become wings. The cycle continued, phoenix after phoenix, rising. Thank you for joining me on Elena's powerful journey of betrayal, self-discovery, and triumph. If her story resonated with you, if you've ever lost yourself trying to be what someone else wanted, or if you believe in the power of rising from the ashes stronger than before, please take a moment to subscribe for more stories of resilience and redemption. Drop a comment below sharing where you're watching from. And remember, sometimes the worst surprises become our greatest gifts, and the person we're meant to become is who we were all along. Your birthday should celebrate the real you, not the person others want you to be.